Hi LEGO fans! We've got something a little bit different for you today. Usually I like to review the latest and greatest LEGO sets, but I'm also a big fan of vintage LEGO. So here we have a 52-year-old LEGO set from 1965, which is still new in box. This thing has never been played with. We're going to unbox set number 001, Gears from LEGO by Samsonite. Yes, you heard me correctly, this is a 1965 LEGO building toy, a quality product of Samsonite Corporation. Now, Samsonite are a luggage manufacturer founded in Denver, Colorado in 1910 and named after the biblical strongman Samson. So how did Samsonite come to be manufacturing the world's greatest building toy? We're going to need to take a short history lesson. Winding the clocks back over half a century to the early 1960s, LEGO was launching products like crazy across Europe and in other countries. In fact, by 1966, LEGO products were on sale in 42 different countries around the world. But rather than setting up their own operation in North America, they licensed the brand to Samsonite. That gave Samsonite manufacturing and distribution rights in the USA and in Canada. So why would LEGO do this? First and foremost, Samsonite were already making luggage out of plastics like ABS, which were similar materials to those used in LEGO. They had the manufacturing capabilities and the distribution channels to conquer the United States and Canada on behalf of the LEGO Group. So in the early 1960s, a 9-year licensing deal was signed between Gottfried Kirk Christiansen of the LEGO Group and King David Schrader, the president of Samsonite. And Samsonite began distributing LEGO by Samsonite toys in the United States in 1961, followed by Canada in 1962. So for the first time, North American children got to play with these awesome LEGO toys. Gottfried Kirk Christiansen was the third son of LEGO founder Ole Kirk Christiansen. Gottfried became managing director of the LEGO Group in 1956 and president of the LEGO Group when Ole Kirk Christiansen sadly died in 1958. By 1960, Gottfried had bought out his brothers to become sole owner of the LEGO Group, now the world's most valuable toy company with an estimated valuation of $14.6 billion. Initially, Samsonite manufactured basic bricks out of their facility in Stratford, Ontario. That's in Canada. And they imported specialty elements such as trees and the plastic 1/87th scale vehicles they were selling at the time from LEGO directly in Billund, Denmark. LEGO building toys grew in popularity in North America. And in April 1965, Samsonite opened a 50,000 square foot manufacturing facility in Loveland, Colorado, devoted exclusively to manufacturing LEGO toys. But the selection of LEGO toys that Samsonite were distributing in North America were largely different to those distributed elsewhere in the world. In fact, by the mid-1960s, when this set was manufactured, the LEGO toys bore almost no resemblance to those being sold in Europe. Ultimately, the marriage between LEGO and Samsonite wasn't meant to last, and in 1972, LEGO ended their licensing agreement with Samsonite in the United States due to a licensing dispute. But they did remain sole distributor of LEGO building toys in Canada until 1988. So, history lesson over, let's take a look at the LEGO. Before we open up this brand new but 52-year-old box of LEGO, let's take a look at the box. From the side panel, you can see that this LEGO building toy was intended for builders of ages 6 through 12. This 43-piece set was intended as an add-on to your existing LEGO collection, and as you can see on the side of the box, this gear set with your LEGO brick collection can make a merry-go-round, sky ride, windmill, punch press, machines that really work, many different toys that move using LEGO gears and your LEGO collection. Yes, you heard me correctly, this set only has 43 pieces. Now let's compare that to a more modern LEGO set and look at the size differential. The Angry Birds set you see here has 7 times more pieces. Focusing on the side of the box, you can see that this is really starting to show its age, but it is still sealed. The Samsonite Corporation sure like to put words on the side of the box, and as you can see here, gears are an exciting new supplement to your LEGO collection. Now you can build action models that really work when you turn the crank. So this is the back of the box, and it's adorned with large blown up photos showing the detail of the gears inside. In fact, it even tells us that the photos are enlarged to show precision detail. The thing you really notice here is that these gears are nothing like the gears that we get in a modern day LEGO Technic set. We have bright primary colours with these red, blue and yellow gears. The teeth are very different to modern day Technic gears, and it looks like we're missing the traditional X-shaped axle hole in the middle of the gear. This panel explains what's inside the box, and we are getting 12 gears, 4 wheel brick assemblies, 4 large wheels, 6 small wheels, 4 small tyres, 4 large tyres, 4 swivels, 4 full flat bricks and 1 brick which is 1/8 inch round. This printed sleeve protects what's inside the main box, so let's remove this and do the big reveal. So there you have it. This is very different to modern LEGO. We have no numbered bags. We just have the LEGO laid out in a nice configuration here. So we could slip the outer sleeve off in the store and see what we're buying. I bought this as a new in-box set and everything about it looks and feels perfect. Even down to the cellophane here, it doesn't feel like modern cellophane. And when you examine it very closely, you can see the age there. So I could put the sleeve back on now and put it into my own collection and let it sit in the dark for another 50 years, but this is LEGO, it's a toy. And what better way to celebrate this magnificent antique LEGO set than opening it up, sharing it with you guys on YouTube and building something hopefully a little bit cool. Let's open this up and have a look at the pieces. So I'm going to do this nice and carefully because I don't really want to damage the box. So bear with me. Oh, there we go, we're through. A nice sharp knife here. Don't try this at home, kids. So let's see if we can peel this back. Yes, and we are in. And hopefully you can hear this. This is very crinkly. This is very old cellophane. Call me strange, but the first thing I did off camera just then was to get in and have a good smell of the LEGO. I really wanted to know what 52-year-old LEGO that's never been played with before smells like. And apart from a very slight plasticky smell, it smells new, which is no surprise really. The other thing I'm really curious about off the bat is how well these rubber pieces here have held up, and actually they feel pretty good. Just inspecting that, there's no evidence these have been used, so I think these really have been in the box for 52 years, and they're not really sticky. I was going to say they're ever so slightly tacky, but really no, they do feel quite new. One of the things I really like about the presentation of the LEGO inside the box is that the gears are meshed together, and we can actually turn them, and they all turn together. This is so cool. The same applies to these large red gears, which are a little bit more difficult to turn, and to these yellow and white gears in the corner. Another nice feature of this vintage set is the motto on the inner sleeve, which says, "Children never outgrow LEGO, they just build bigger and better things." I'm sure many of us adult fans of LEGO could relate to that. On the other side, we're reminded that LEGO supplements are the easy way to make your LEGO collection grow. Let's go ahead and lay this all out so we can see everything that comes inside the box. Cool, and here is set number 001, Gears, in all its glory. Let's take a closer look at these elements first, and then we'll do some serious building. Confirming the part count that's listed on the outer sleeve, we have 12 gears, 4 wheel brick assemblies, 4 large wheels, 6 small wheels, 4 small tyres, 4 large tyres, 4 swivels, 4 full flat bricks, and 1 1/8 round brick, which was way too small for the camera to focus on without me holding it. This is the instruction manual that comes with the set, very simply entitled Gear Instructions. This is printed in black and white with some red detailing. On the back are some marketing messages reinforcing that LEGO is very educational, you should buy loads and loads of it, and that your kids are never going to outgrow it, which I think definitely in my case is absolutely true. Then we can unfold the manual and it starts to tell us how we can assemble the gears. And finally, fully unfolded, you can see some of the things that you can make using these gears. And you'll notice that these include a lot of LEGO elements that are not included in the set. Here are the 4 different sizes of gear. Going from left to right, we have 4 inch, 3 inch, 2 inch, and 1.5 inches. On the front of the gears we have studs which we can attach normal LEGO bricks to, so if we wanted to make a windmill for example, that would be no problem here, and these are fully compatible with modern day LEGO bricks. Now if we look at the holes in the front, you'll see that there is not a hole with a cross in it. So we cannot use a standard modern day axle to work with these gears. They're just going to fall off. What we have to do instead is flip these over, and you'll see that these are like the bottom of a Lego brick. And what we can do is take one of these wheel elements and actually attach it to the bottom. A little bit fiddly, but there it is. And now we can attach this to a wheel block in order to give the gear something to spin on. We get two different sizes of these wheels so that we can use the smaller one for the smaller gears. As you can see, the larger wheel isn't going to fit in there, but the smaller wheel will just perfectly. As I mentioned previously, these old gears are not compatible with the modern day Technic gears. The teeth are completely different and do not mesh, and we have very, very different sizes. We have relatively small gears these days, and these things were huge. We get 8 tyres with this set, 4 of the small tyres and 4 of the larger tyres. So if we don't want to use these to work with the gears and we fancy building something with wheels instead, we can just simply pop these rubber tyres over the rims like so, and then we can attach them to a wheel brick. It's perhaps difficult to see this on camera, but there's actually a seam in the tyre here where they've obviously just extruded it and then stuck it together. So I'd be a little bit nervous about using this, and it's probably a good bet that there aren't a lot of these still left because I can imagine them coming apart. These are very typical of the early Lego wheels that we had in the 1960s and 1970s. I've certainly seen this variation before. And basically we have what looks like a brass pin in the middle of the wheel that we could simply push into a wheel brick like this. And that gives it quite a nice spin. We've got a lot of movement in there and those spin around quite nicely. You can also put them on the side here, although as you can see I've not got room there. So we're going to put this in the end, and we could either attach a gear to that or we could put the tyres on, and that would make a very nice pair of wheels. So here are 2 vintage wheel bricks. The one on the left is from the mid 1970s, and the one on the right is the 1965 one from the box that we've just opened. And what I really wanted to show you here is not the brick itself, although they are pretty much identical, but the Lego logo on the studs. As you'll see, the one on the left is pretty much the Lego logo that we know and love today, but the one on the right is the older one. I believe that was either phased out in the late 60s or sometime during the 70s, probably during the 70s, but you'll see that the lettering is very different. And while I was searching through my vintage Lego to try and find one of these bricks to show you, I also found this very unusual example. This is Lego. It doesn't say Lego on it. We've just got the words Pat penned on the bottom and a numbered code. I did have to look this up. This is actually a piece where you would insert a rod into here, and that was included in a crane set, I believe, way back in the day. But that's an unusual Lego element, which I just wanted to share with you. This is one of the 2x4 tiles that comes with the set, and it's pretty unremarkable. You could put this in a modern day Lego set and nobody would notice. Until you look at the studs there, we've got the old Lego logo, and if we turn it over, you can actually see the patent pending wording on the bottom, which is very cool. It was a little bit mean that they only gave us one of these 1/8 round elements, and this is pretty much identical to the ones we get today. The only way you can tell the difference is, again, the Lego logo on the top. This is the element that they refer to as a spinner on the outer sleeve, which got me a little bit confused. I always think of these as like a turntable. I don't know what the official name for these is. Again, you can see the Lego logo is different on the top, and it's kind of a half brick here with this turntable element in. I've definitely seen elements like this that are very similar, maybe not exactly the same to this particular design. So we have this beautiful box of pristine Lego elements that are over half a century old. I think it would be rude not to build something with it. And the instructions are probably a great place to start. The good news is that LEGO has provided us with 4 lessons to follow, so we don't have to figure all of this out for ourselves. The bad news is that you're going to need more LEGO parts to build these lessons, so you better hope this is not the only box of LEGO that Santa Claus has delivered this Christmas. Thankfully, I do have a few LEGO bricks from the 60s and 70s lying around, so we're not going to have a problem today. Lesson 1 is very simple. It consists of a small gear powered by a hand crank turning a larger gear. I had to add some extra parts to make this work, just a bunch of white 4x2 bricks and a green base plate. We have this small white cog here which is attached to a hand crank through this wheel brick, and very simply we turn the hand crank and it meshes the blue gear and turns the blue gear around. In lesson 2, we learn how to use gears at right angles so we can transfer energy around a solid object. This is how it turns out. We have 4 gears in total, one on this side which is transferring energy to the yellow gear, which is in turn transferring energy to the white gear on this far side. Now the white gear is actually connected to the large blue gear using the studs on the face of the gear. So we can turn it like so, and we're transferring the energy all the way around the middle block here and making the blue gear turn in the opposite direction. In lesson 3, we're using similar principles to make a working turntable. Clearly not all of these parts are vintage 1960s, but it does make a very nice simple turntable. The red gear is mounted on a white spinner underneath. We have a crank just here, and that in turn turns the white gear, which then turns the red gear. And that gives us a very nice turntable on which to demonstrate our minifigures. You could even add a second turntable to show off the evil minifigures. And in lesson number 4, we learn how to stack the gears so that we can transfer energy across a greater distance. The construction techniques in this model aren't exactly strong, but it does demonstrate the principles quite nicely. So on the side here we have this yellow gear which doubles up as a hand crank. That directly drives the red gear, which in turn drives the blue gear. And I could just imagine putting sails on the blue gear at the top to make a windmill. And finally, I wanted to see what it was possible to build using these gears, some vintage Lego bricks, and a sprinkling of imagination. Sadly, I'm way too old to have any imagination, so I handed this challenge off to my son and he came up with this windmill. Not all of these elements were around in the 1960s, but everything you see in front of you is either from the 1960s, 1970s, or the early 1980s. So it's a reasonably good representation of what you could achieve with parts from the time, with the exception of the railroad crossing and the vintage space Lego pieces, of course. This may not be the most mechanically accurate representation of a windmill, but it does showcase how you can use these gears to mechanize your own creations. And that's exactly what these gears were intended to do, to give young engineers a way to try out their own ideas and find out for themselves what works and what doesn't. So that was set number 001, the Gears Expansion Pack, a quality product of Samsonite Corporation. I had a great time unboxing this vintage Lego set and I hope you enjoyed it too. I also hope you enjoyed hearing some of the history behind the relationship between Lego and Samsonite. If you did enjoy this video, please don't forget to leave a like down below because that really helps. Also, subscribe to my channel for more awesome Lego content. We release 2 new Lego review videos every single week. Most of my reviews focus on new Lego rather than old Lego, but it's always fun to do something different. So thanks for joining us today, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next build video.